Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Wednesday. Merry Christmas. Uh, it's right upon us, ain't it? Shit, the year's gone. Thank God, 2020 is almost over. Um, yo, this Christmas time for me has always been kind of a little bit of a weird time of year. Like it's really good. I enjoy Christmas. Especially growing up in a rural part of the world, and I enjoy it. Most people where I grew up, and areas like my own hometown, uh, very very predominantly conservative Christian type people. So they celebrate Christmas and they celebrate the actual true meaning of Christmas, and not so much the commercialized deals. So it's everybody's in a pretty good mood come Christmas, but also it's that one time a year where we all fall into the commercialized aspect, and and everybody's in a big goddamn hurry trying to get this toy, that toy, get a ham, get a prime rib, whatever it is, get all the shit put together so you can bust your ass and put something awesome together. Just blow your wad, buy a bunch of toys and shit, and put together a meal with way too much food and way too much booze, and just have a good time. It's a feast, and but it's at the same time, there's living in a rural community, agricultural community. There's still shit to get done, especially on the livestock end this time of year, because there's not a whole lot going on with them cows except they got to get fed. If you're ranching or feedlot in particular, they got to get fed every damn day. And if you're ranching, this time of year it's cold and water's freezing, so you got to go check water, break ice, uh, feed, feed the protein when you have to, and that shit has to be done every day, and and your bigger ranches, you have your rotation, whatever, but still there's something to be done every single day, and you can slack off a little bit and blow through what you got to get done, but you have to put in the bare minimum or shit just doesn't work. So, um, with all of that being said, then it makes people even more in a big goddamn hurry because you're trying to get to the party or Christmas dinner or something. Same time, you got shit to do, and it's hard to just settle down and take a minute and relax and enjoy. Whether you're a believer in Jesus or not, um, I think we can all agree it's just a good time of year. Like people tend to get together with their families, and and it's the whether you subscribe to any part of the Christmas story, whether it be the commercial part or the biblical part. um, it's all about giving, and the reason it becomes so commercialized is because people like to give gifts, and you know somebody's got to make those gifts that you can give, and it leads to a whole industry, and many different industries. So it makes sense that it's commercialized, but I think it's commercialized for the right reasons, and that's just to be giving. And so regardless of your views on religion or anything, I think in that in general can be we can all kind of take that away as a good thing, as it's a time think about others and not yourself, and try to bring a little bit of joy into somebody's life. And you know, if that's the true spirit of Christmas, Christmas should be every damn day, because that's what we all should be doing. But um, anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox now, and we'll get into this episode. I just wanted to tell you a little story about my personal history, and a kind of a cool Christmas story, Christmas-ish story. If you're listening on Patreon, you'll hear this story right away. If not, I got some people that I need to tell you about. So there's some sponsors that help me keep the lights on and buy cool shit, so I can put out a better product for you folks. And I got to tell you about them because that's what they pay me to do. And actually, I'm kind of proud to do it anyhow. So let me tell you first about Stetson Ranches up in Fromberg, Montana. They're the lead sponsor of the show. Good friends of mine, excellent people, multi-generational ranch family, trying to build something that is going to be a viable family-run operation for many generations to come. Very diversified outfit. They're running industrial hemp and quarter horses. Some of the best quarter horses that money can buy. They're old school foundation quarter horse bloodlines. We're talking Zampar Bar, Two-Eyed Jack, Peppy Sand Badger, Doc Bar, all the good ones. Just really solid foundation quarter horse bloodlines. Proven ranch performance, whatever you're looking for. Proven bloodlines, good disposition, good big bodied, heavy built horses with a lot of athletic ability. Just as good as they come. Tina's done a really good job at selecting some of the best proven genetics, and she's got a really nice herd to prove it. And finally, they've got a direct-to-consumer, pasture-to-plate, ranch-raised beef program. It's a really good deal. Really excellent beef. And from some of the best people on earth, pouring their heart and soul into, bringing the best high-quality protein product they can put on God's green earth. They're running registered Black Angus cows, breeding them back to registered Hereford bulls. That's going to give you an F1 Black Baldy Cross Calf. It's going to grade prime every single time. And they are going to ship that to you for $6.95 a pound, straight to your door, delivered on dry ice. From a full beef all the way down to an eighth of a beef package, which is about 65 pounds. $6.95 a pound for steaks, roasts, burger, stew meat, all the good stuff, all the lower quality, bulk type stuff. All of it all in one package for a low price. Was a really good deal for some of the best meat you can buy. Prime beef every single time. Stetson Ranches. Go check them out online, stetsonranches.com. Go follow Jesse on Instagram. That's Jesse with one S, at Jese Stetson. And tell him you heard about him on Burning Daylight. Next up, we got Loma Livestock and my good buddy George Raftopoulos, running the best goddamn sale barn in North America, located there in Loma, Colorado at 1369 12.5 Road. Got a sale coming to you every Monday and Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Monday for the feeders, Friday for the weigh up cows and bulls, the miscellaneous type stuff. It's a really cool deal that George is doing. He's trying to make the best market for the buyer, and market your cattle in the best way possible if you're on the producer end to bring the most value. Be able to prove what your cattle do, and just helping out the buyer and the seller, and making it the best environment to do both. So check them out online, lomalivestock.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. If you can't make the sale on Monday or Friday, don't worry about it. You can watch it online live, and you can bid. Go to dvauction.com. Click on the Loma Livestock tab, and you can watch it and bid right there from the comfort of your own couch. Next up, we got Horny Saddlery. It's a husband and wife duo, Dan and Hannah Conway, out of Dumas, Texas, making some of the coolest cowboy gear out there. Dan's doing all the silversmithing. Hannah's doing most of the leather work, and they're just putting together some really cool shit. As far as working gear goes, it's going to look a little cooler than the next guy, and it's going to be just as strong as anybody else out there that's making some homemade shit out of water buffalo hide or whatever. It's good quality shit for a pretty good price. Built for the working cowboy. It's just they're really cool people, supporters of the show, making some really good shit. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Horny Saddlery. And they also have a store on Etsy. They got some cool stuff in stock, and they do a lot of custom orders. So go check them out, Horny Saddlery. Let them know you heard about them on Burning Daylight. Anyhow, last and certainly not least, we got Kelly Martin and Brandon Denim bringing you the best cowboy pants out there. That's made in America, manufactured in America, denim jeans, built for the working cowboy by the working cowgirl, and with a lot of input from working cowboys and cowgirls. She, for a long time, decided that she wanted to make a pair of pants that was made in the U.S., was going to hold up to everyday cowboy work, not going to shrink, not going to tear in 2 weeks and have to buy a new pair, not going to twist in the seam. She just makes a really, really good pair of jeans. A little more expensive than what you're going to pay for Wranglers, but guess what? You're supporting America, and that's what we love here. Kelly is a badass. She's also a master boot maker. Just all around cool gal, and I'm really happy to have her and all the other sponsors on the show. Go find her at branded-denim.com, and on social media, just search Branded Denim. You'll find her. Go buy a pair of jeans, a jacket, a pair of boots if you're into it. So, go check her out. Go check out all these sponsors, and I know it's kind of down to the wire. So, if you got any local guys that you're looking to get presents from, go ahead and do it. Shop local, buy local, support small businesses. There's a whole lot less of them than there was 6 months ago. So, go support the ones that are still hanging in there. Anyhow, if you ever think about cowboys and Christmas, I was trying to rack my brain today and think about like the most iconic cowboy Christmas story I can remember. I'm talking about from my life experiences and in storybooks and all that good stuff. And I was searching my brain, trying to figure out what the most epic cowboy Christmas story was, and there's a whole lot of them. I read a lot of short stories, I've heard a bunch over the years, and there's not really any like super famous one that comes to mind for me. I'm sure there is one out there, but for me, there's not any particular one that comes to mind. And I started thinking about about my life and how Christmas went for us. And we'd get up and we would see that Santa had left the presents, whatnot. Still a bunch of presents under the tree, but we always got like one kind of big expensive present, and then some smaller stuff under the tree. And we'd come downstairs, and we'd open the Santa Claus present, uh, have a good time for a minute. My mom and sisters would be making breakfast, and then, well, get your ass up, get some clothes on, and let's go feed horses and cattle. And after that, it's pretty well, it's free reign till sundown. We got to do chores again. But regardless, if you grew up in a livestock family, I don't farming. I guess maybe if you're in the southern hemisphere or the southern U.S. and you've still got a growing season in the last part of December. Maybe you got some farm work to do, but from where I was from, the farm, if you were strictly farmer, you didn't have a whole lot to deal with on Christmas. But if you had livestock, well, guess what? They eat every day. They kind of like that shit. So here we are. We got a holiday, but we also we got animals to take care of. So it was you got a little bit of joy. Then it was outside, no matter how cold it was. Get the animals fed, and then you had the rest of the day pretty much to do whatever. And that I think that was I think it was a good way to grow up. A little biased, obviously, but I think that was pretty good way. So then I start to grow up, or I get older. Haven't grown up yet, but go through college, and I usually was home during the Christmas, like the week of Christmas, and maybe the week after, but I didn't stay home very much, and I grew up in Baca County, Colorado, just south of a town called Walsh, and there's not a lot going on there. Not a lot of economic opportunities. Uh, and there was plenty of work to be had, but I could stay up in Fort Collins and make, at least time and again what I would have made in Walsh. So I didn't come home a whole lot, and I kind of, it's one of those things. I don't know if I regret it a whole lot, but I think about that. I'm big on shop local and giving back to your community, and I fervently believe that. And maybe I just maybe I'm a little bit hypocritical because I moved away, but man, if the opportunity ain't there, then it ain't there. And I always think maybe I could have made an opportunity, but regardless, I ended up about 1,500 miles away from where I grew up, and rocking and rolling. I think we're doing pretty damn good, and but even so today, I still work with livestock, and you know, there's cattle to feed, and cattle get sick on Christmas. Just like some people get sick on Christmas, some people up and die on Christmas. It's a tragedy, but it happens, and cattle ain't any different than humans in that aspect. So they're gonna get sick. And some of them are going to get sick bad enough, or we missed them a couple of days before that. We that they need a shot on Christmas, and maybe if we let them go, they're going to die. So there's still shit to do, and now my kids are growing up knowing that they really can't just dive real deep into the presents until Dad gets home, and that's usually about 11 o'clock. And I think there's something valuable to that. It's a little delayed gratification. And anyhow, I'm pontificating and philosophizing. I had a story I was going to tell you, and anyhow, but to kind of wrap up this little preamble, I guess I get to where I kind of enjoy working on Christmas. I really do. And over the years, I've worn a Santa hat. I've worn my pajamas. I've worn my pajamas a couple different times to work on Christmas Day. And I don't go all gung ho like my wife could. She could stay decorated for Christmas all year long if we had let her. Um, and I don't know. I'm guess I'm a moderate level of a Scrooge. I don't care for Christmas music a whole lot, and I could do without Christmas starting after Labor Day. Uh, but I do enjoy like when it gets kind of right down to the nitty gritty, and there's something cool about working with a crew on Christmas where everybody wants to get out of there and get home to be with their families and just do Christmas shit. But we're all there. We all got one goal in mind, and that's to collect a paycheck. And in order to collect that paycheck, we got a whole bunch of cows to take care of. So we all gathered together like we do on every other single day, but yeah, you show even a little bit more teamwork and you get shit done. And the way we do it is we come in, my crew, we go ride, and we doctor, and usually we doctor our own cattle, but at this point everybody's trying to get through and done as quick as possible. So somebody's probably going to doctor our cattle for us as we bring them to the hospital and then put them away. So by the time we're done riding, uh, we might have to put one or two head away, and we can go unsaddle, feed horses, and by that time the feeders are on their last couple loads, and we got a guy loading hay into the commodity barn, and we're cutting twine as we go, and we're just waiting on those feeders to finish up, and and then it just it's kind of a you kind of talk a little bit shit on the feed truck drivers and while you're waiting, but it's everybody's laughing and having a good time, and it's truly pleasant. I really truly enjoy that, and as much as I'd rather spend it with my family, uh, I chose this line of work, so it is what it is. We got obligations, and the quicker we can fulfill those, then I can go watch my kids open presents. So it's a little, so anybody that doesn't own livestock, they don't quite understand the working on Christmas Day aspect of it. But when you're in this way of life, you just know what it is, and anybody signs on to marry one of these folks, whether they like the business or not, they eventually they come to find out that you know Christmas is a holiday, yes, but it's only a semi-holiday compared to the rest of the world because we still got shit to do. And I don't know. I enjoy working on holidays as much as I'd rather be at home. But this story I'm going to tell you about is there's the intro song here was the Blizzard. I don't know who originally wrote it. It's an old cowboy song, but I really love the Chris Ledoux version, and I love the Jim Reeves version a lot too. But Chris Ledoux's more in my timeline, so I chose that, and I chose this as it's I say it's a Christmas-ish story because the main events never didn't really take place on Christmas, but it was Christmas was like the one bright spot in the middle of about oh anywhere from a week to 3 months worth of just uh kind of misery. It was brutal. But the blizzard of 06, 07, I was a junior in college, and I was living with my buddy Rob and his now wife Emily, and I'd just taken a job with or yeah, I'd just taken a job with the USDA. And I was getting paid by CSU through a work study program, but I was working at the USDA office and lab. Uh, Anyhow, I was I was doing about the most mind-numbing job you could possibly think of. I was counting kernels of wheat and measuring different parts of the wheat plant and entering all that data into a database. Um, and yeah, it was. If it sounded boring, trust me, I gave you the pain-free version. It was pretty brutal. But anyhow, it paid well, and it was wintertime, so good time to be inside. So I took that job no problem. And I had about 2 weeks off for Christmas. And my dad had a job lined up for me to poison some prairie dogs back home. So I made it home. Um, I left Fort Collins about a day and a half later than I wanted to. Come in a big old blizzard on the Front Range, and it was something like 27 inches that it dropped there in Fort Collins. And they closed I-25 for a day and a half, and they closed I-70 off and on for a couple of weeks, and 287 was closed for a little stretch, and but the that blizzard didn't really get my folks. They got the wind and they got the cold, but they didn't get any moisture out of it. But Front Range was just buried. But they credit to the road crew. They got the roads open pretty quick, and a little bit late, but still made it home on like Christmas Eve, I believe. And no, I think it was like the 23rd, because I was able to meet up for a party, visit all my buddies from high school and whatnot. Drank way too much beer and pissed my mom off, but that was kind of par for the course those years. And anyhow, we had a nice little Christmas. I don't remember what all happened. It was pretty uneventful as far as Christmas goes. Um, but anyhow, we had Christmas there at our house. Went into my mom's side of the family, and we had Christmas at Grandma Hardy's, and it was nice. It was pleasant, and then we went back to work on the 26th, and we went down to the canyons and gathered some cows, and then we stayed down there the 26th. Finished working cattle on the 27th, and we came back, and then the 28th is when I started poisoning prairie dogs at my dad's south pasture. And so what we'd do I'd been working for this guy in college, and this guy made a pretty good living doing this job, and it wasn't real scientific. There was a little more to it than I'll tell you right here, but for the bread and butter type of like foreman type job, it was pretty cake. You just had to be willing to work and run a shovel. And but what we'd do is we had this poison. There's phostoxin. We used a lumatoxin, but basically it's the active ingredient is aluminum phosphide, and it basically it was designed to clean out granaries. You'd get a bunch of pigeons and shit in there. You'd drop a bunch of these pellets in there and seal it up, and when that shit would mix with any moisture in the air, it would I forget what the the chemical reaction what it was, but basically it sucked all the oxygen out of out of this space, and so you could kill a bunch of pigeons real quick, and you have a completely clean grain bin, and it worked pretty good on these prairie dogs too. So I was telling my dad about this deal and how this fella had made it. Well, he had made a good living, and his dad before he bought the company had made a really good living doing it. And you know, prairie dogs are always a nuisance in southeast Colorado. They spread like wildfire. I don't know what the gestation period is on those things, but it's short. They multiply rapidly. They chew up your pasture. I guess they probably eat some of that grass, but they clip it down so when they pop their head up above their den, they can see a little bit further and check for predators and whatnot. But the way they clip that grass, it doesn't grow back, kind of like how the horses do. And anyhow, it's a constant struggle trying to get rid of these damn things. And so my dad was able to, or he figured out I could treat this pasture of his, and he could do it for even paying me a pretty damn good amount of money. He could do it for way cheaper than if he hired somebody else to do it. So I go to work poisoning this little town of prairie dogs. We had about 10 acres or so that were pretty thick. Moved over from the neighbor, and I had a neighbor job set up to do after I did my dad's, but didn't get to it that year. Anyhow, it was about 10 acres. It was a pretty good day. Short daylight, middle of winter, but I was just wrapping up filling in so what we'd do is I'd put like in the summer you'd put 3 pellets in the winter you'd put 4 because it took a little bit more you know you know it took a little bit more to activate that aluminum phosphide, so you'd put an extra pellet in the colder months, and then you'd mark that hole with a piece of newspaper, and then you'd come back through and you'd fill it in and tamp it shut, and let that poison go to work. And next thing you know, we got a pretty high percentage kill on what we did. But I rocked out about 10 acres. Just jamming out, listening to music, just doing country boy shit, and I was just loading up all my shovels and shit when saw these clouds really come rolling in. I've been watching them roll in all day, but they were right up on us then. And right as I hopped out at the gate to close it behind me, we had cows down there, and I turned on the county road, went back and shut the gate, and in that 15 yards from the rig I was in to the gate, I got drenched, and it was freezing rain, and I was driving my dad's old Suburban. Well, it was new to us. He had just traded it off, but it was I guess like a mid to late 80s Chevy Suburban. He'd traded it for a side of beef or something anyhow, and that's the one he sent down with me to doctor these prairie dogs. And I didn't know much about it. It just, it was a Suburban. Uh, Drove down there just fine. There was a pretty sandy spot right as you pull in the pasture, and hell, I didn't have to put it in the four-wheel drive or anything. It just climbed on out. So I didn't think much of it, and then I got about a quarter mile down the road and couldn't see anything, that freezing rain, and kicked on the wipers, and here they come, and the passenger side did not have a wiper. Like, they had the little arm that was just flapping back and forth like a son of a bitch, but no wiper on it. And the one that, this was '07, so I think this year, that particular year, that was the only real precipitation that we had, was this one blizzard, and it dumped 3 foot of snow on us. And if you're from the plains, you know what I'm talking about. The mountains, you might think it's 3 foot of snow is nothing, and up there, yeah, it is. Like, you're used to it, you prepare for it. We don't get that snow very often out on the plains, and when we get the snow, we get the wind with it, and 6 inches of snow can do a lot of damage when the wind's howling 60 mile an hour, but 3 foot of snow, holy shit. But that freezing rain came in, and this one windshield wiper on the driver's side that was still attached probably hadn't been used in about 6 years, because that was about the last time it had rained or snowed or anything. And so next thing you know, the rubber just crumbles off, turns into powder, and you got metal on glass. So shut it down, and luckily it was pretty cool that morning. So I layered up, and I had a couple under layers that I had stripped down to bare chest so I could get my t-shirt out and wipe this windshield down. And I had to stop about every quarter mile and wipe it down so I could see again. And this was not doing like a full service detail on the windshield every time I jumped out. It was just enough to clear a spot that I could see through and go about another quarter mile. I had the flashers on the whole time, but that shit, there wasn't anybody out because we'd been hearing about a big storm coming, and we thought it was going to be, it was going to be a decent sized storm. But my dad kept saying, "Nah, this feels like this feels something different." He said, "Just feels something different." And he was in office at the state representative at the time. And so he was on the phone and setting up, logistics on how they're going to clear roads and all that good shit. And then it came in just dumped. By the time I pulled into the driveway there at my dad's place, you had like quarter-size flakes coming down, and the wind was picking up. For the first 30-45 minutes, it was really pretty because that snow was coming in just nice and soft, big old fat flakes. And then the wind set in, and boy howdy, it got with it. And we never lost power. That was the weirdest thing, is we didn't really get the ice, but just north of us and just east of us, we may have got a little bit more snow, but they got the ice. That all that freezing rain just laid a bunch of power lines over, and then that came in and snowed, and it drifted. And those old boys at Colorado Beef there in Lamar, they were stuck at that feedlot for 3 or 4 days on end, just because they got snowed in, and they were hungry enough where they had broke through the glass on the vending machine and just raided every bit of it. Ate everything that was in that vending machine. I'm sure the feed yard had to pay for it, but it was boy, you talk about wreak some havoc. If you get 2 or 3 inches of snow, and then that wind blows, you might get 3-4 foot drifts, but and pretty regular. I mean, you'll have bare spots on the ground, and then and you have a 3 or 4 foot drift up against a soapweed or something. But now you're talking 3 foot of snow, and those spots that would normally be bare, where the snow had all blown off, you still had about a foot of snow right there. And 3 or 4 foot drifts turned into 12, 15 foot drifts. And I'll have to find a picture, but I will post this as the cover art. But I have my dad standing next to a railroad boxcar, an old reefer car that we'd bought, or he'd bought back in the day. We used it as a tack room and a granary. And anyhow, I think it was 10 foot tall from wheels to the top of the car, and it was set on blocks, so it was a good foot off the ground. So call it 11 foot, and my dad is standing on top of a drift that is been tramped down for a couple days, and he's standing on top of the drift, and the top of that boxcar is about level with the bottom of his kneecap. And man, and we had stomped that drift down at least 2 foot. So you're talking about 12, 13 foot drift at least. And man, it just wreaked havoc. It was 3 or 4 days before the road graders got anywhere. Because all the road, at least in our part of the county, all the road grader men lived in town. And they just drove the county pickup out to their spot where they parked their grader every night. And ours was at the mailbox 16 miles south of town. And Billy Shepard was our road grader man at the time. And yeah, it was 16 miles from, probably 16 and a half miles from his house to the grader, and he was the one that was in charge of clearing that entire road, and he was stuck there in town. So it was nothing but ranchers and farmers out there with loaders and tractors with blades and whatnot, and I don't know how many thousands of dollars it was burnt in fuel in that particular week. It was about a week stretch that before the grader finally got out there, and we were we were pretty well prepared. My dad's always been kind of a prepper, so we had plenty of water. We had a generator hooked up, and we had probably 50-gallon worth of gas, just in case we lost power. And I think it flickered once or twice, but never really lost power. Kansas was a whole different story. Prowers County, Colorado was a whole different story. But for whatever reason, our grid never went down, and I kind of wished it had, because the phone started ringing that night, and it did not fucking stop. Like I said, my dad was in office, and everybody said, "Well, what are you gonna do for us, Mr. Representative man?" And he's like, "I can't do shit." I said, "Well, I haven't seen my cows in 2 days." And he said, "I haven't seen my cows in 2 days either. I haven't left the driveway." We didn't have any equipment. We didn't have a tractor with a bucket or anything. And so it was about, I don't know, probably 60, 70 yards from the front porch to the county road. And we shoveled it all out with scoop shovels by hand. And we started that night that, I rolled in from the south pasture. Rocky Comfort is what we call it. And I had just, probably about a 2-inch by 6-inch rectangle that I could see through. I was like leaning up over the steering wheel trying to see through that, and rolled in went inside, got a cup of coffee, and then we immediately went back outside and started shoveling the driveway and trying to stay a little bit ahead of the snow. And that wind was coming out of the north, so we were throwing dirt or snow over our shoulders to the right or to the south, and it didn't even matter. That bank on the south end just kept getting bigger, and got big enough as we were shoveling that we couldn't throw over the top of it. So then you're throwing it over on the north side, and that wind's coming out of the north and blowing it right over the top of you over onto the south side, and it's just falling back down. And by the time we finally called it quits, we got out to the road, and it was about wide enough to where you could, if you were really good and precise, you could back a pickup out there. And we got it. We called it good, and well, I don't know if any of that was even making a dent. And it turns out we made a little bit of a dent, not much. You could see a little divot where we had shoveled out in the morning. And I think the wind finally stopped blowing about like 1-2 o'clock that afternoon, the next afternoon on it. So that'd been the 29th is when it stopped snowing and blowing. And yeah, you could see where we had shoveled out that driveway, but there was about 2 to 3 feet of snow filled in right in that trench. So we didn't make a whole lot of a dent. We had an old it was an 86 Chevy Suburban that was parked there in front of the house, and you could not tell that it was parked there. It was just covered in a drift. We didn't get to our cows down at the Rocky Comfort pasture where I was poisoning prairie dogs for 4 days, and we had to we had a couple of the neighbors come by, and they cleared out in front of the driveway. We shoveled all the way out to the driveway, and we were working our ass off. I remember this very vividly because I'm a huge fan of tamales, and we had a lady who was kind of the head janitor at the school. Every 6 months or so, she'd make a big batch of tamales, and she'd sell them for $12 a dozen or whatever it was back in the day. And my mom would go ham on that shit. She would buy 10 or 12 dozen, and then she might make these tamales in the middle of the summer. She usually made some right before Christmas, and then the rest of the year it was kind of whenever she felt like it. But we, of course, with Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's all right there close, my mom would buy a shitload of tamales, freeze them, and for our family get-togethers, she would just thaw those out, warm them up, and yeah, it was nothing better than a good tamale. Red pork tamales, it's about as good as it gets, I believe. And she had bought some just for Christmas, and we had a few people show up for Christmas, but not as many as we were thinking. And we were supposed to have a big New Year's Day deal, and obviously that didn't happen because everybody was snowed in. So we had a shitload of tamales, and we were trying to we were roughing it as much as we can. Like we were running the fireplace during the day. All the electricity was off, trying not to overload the grid. And we had during the day we would hook in the generator if we had to, and we really cut back, and so a lot of time was spent outside. A lot of snow forts were made, and for all of us over the age of like 10, you got handed a shovel, and you put your ass to work. And I remember coming in. You'd just you'd shovel snow until you couldn't hardly move. You'd come in, you'd get a cup of coffee, and my little sister had made some chocolate chip cookies, and my niece Micah, who I think she's 16 now, something like that. She was like 3 or 4 at the time. She could talk, carry on a conversation, but just a little bitty shit. And Finding Nemo was all the rage, and of course that was her favorite movie. I don't know how many times I watched Finding Nemo with her during that week stretch, but I enjoyed it every time. And God, we worked our ass off. We had a couple steers that we were feeding out in the arena, and I had to dig out a path for this little ford that my dad had with a bale bed on it. It wasn't I guess he was pulling a bale bed. Yeah, just pulling a little bale spike and a little homemade rig. You know how those things go. And it was like a 78 Ford with a 300 inline 6. Real low geared. If you could keep those wheels spinning and grabbing, it would crawl out of just about anything. But it didn't have a whole lot of speed. It had a whole lot of torque, so you had to, you were probably just better off being in granny low, because otherwise, it had so much torque that you'd spin down to where you're just spinning on ice pretty quick like. So, once you get like that, you're stranded. So I had to dig probably a 40-yard trench from the south gate of that arena out to the 2-track road, and then from there I had to dig out the 2-track road about another 25-30 yards out to the county road. With the last little bit, of course, you had all the wash from the road grader come by, and man, that I heard that little, we called it the banana boat. It was a kind of a yellow single cab flatbed 79 Ford. I heard that little 300 motor make noises that I didn't think were possible. We never got her stuck. It was real touch and go. And then, in the meantime, all my buddies are going through this whole thing. Like, in the meantime, Clint Mandel, his kind of equipment barn, he'd pulled his pickup in there, and the roof collapsed and crushed the cab of his pickup. Everybody's cattle was scattered from hell to gone, especially down there where we were. That wind was coming out of the north, so all those cattle drifted south, and we're not very damn far from Oklahoma, so you had a whole bunch of Colorado cattle in the Oklahoma Panhandle there in the spring and summer of 07, and probably if you had river bottom stuff for several years after that. But man, it was just absolutely brutal, but I didn't hate a minute of it. I was never so happy to get out of Baca County in my life when I had to drive back up to Fort Collins, get back to my job. But at the same time, I was leaving, like I was leaving Springfield, got fuel in Springfield, and I was looking in my rearview mirror, and I was like, felt a little bit of guilt, but at the same time, I felt a whole lot of pride. It was like a week later before the National Guard got deployed to start airdropping feed to some of these cows that got stranded. But for like a solid week of just bone crushing work, you didn't even know what your neighbor was doing. You might see him every day, a couple times a day driving down the road, but uh, after 3 days and you finally see him coming down the road with a tractor, you're just like, well, fuck yeah. And then there was people that wanted to bitch about about how much we were paying these guys for fuel when they turned in bills. And man, you talk about some, there were people that stood up so fucking quick, and we were one of them because we didn't have any equipment. So Teed, my good buddy Teed, they came by with their big 4-wheel drive tractor. It was a big articulating bastard. It was a big sucker with a blade on it. And shit, by the time the road grader got there, that would have been 2 or 3 days later. And it was just a cool thing, watching all the neighbors come together. And then, it really was kind of like the old West. Telegraph lines were down. Cell phone service is still pretty goddamn spotty down there, but back in 07, shit. You had to really go off the beaten path to find a cell phone provider down there. And yeah, and then you finally meet up and you're like, oh yeah, Mandel's pickup got crushed. That roof caved in. And oh shit, Ed Knott's cattle are south of the highway. Fuck. It was just, you had people that bought snowmobiles. They had never owned a snowmobile in their life, and probably haven't used it since then. Well, if they kept it around, they might have used it in 2017. But we just don't get snow like that down on the plains, and it just, the wind never doesn't blow. So it just, when we do get snow like that, it's just, boy, it's a bad combination. But that was one of the funner times in my life. It was just it was us against nature. We still had power and whatnot. My dad always, especially in the winter, he always keeps that propane tank pretty damn full. And we were set for quite a little while. But if the power had went out, we would have been just fine. And we watched movies and shit, but like I said, we were trying not to overextend the power grid, with just poles being down all over as it was. You try to restrict your usage. So hour or two after the sun went down, it was lights out, and you found a flashlight and you read a book if you couldn't go to sleep. But by everybody who'd been shoveling snow all day, they were plenty happy to just go to sleep. But I watched Finding Nemo during the day during breaks, and then I read Lonesome Dove at night, and son of a bitch, it was a fun time. And the whole Christmas aspect of it gets lost in the rest of it. But it the way we've got it set up anymore, that whole, like, probably 10-day period or so, I guess it'd be 11-day, from like December 20th to January 1st, all kind of gets lumped into Christmas time. And this happened on the 28th and 29th is when that snow came in. And even though we'd had Christmas and whatnot, I think for some reason we had it a day later or something, just because everybody was with their immediate family. I've got a huge family. I'm one of 8 kids, so uh, when everybody uh, when everybody gathers around for Christmas, it's a pretty big ordeal. I mean, it's there's a lot of moving parts there, and this was one of those years where I don't think the whole crew was there, but a pretty good chunk of it, and boy, we had just the best time. And I remember we were playing cards by a lantern light, and all we had to do was go over and flip the light switch, but it was just, you know, we were fine. There wasn't anything there that was going to that we needed to call out for. There wasn't any particular reason that we needed to have the power on, but there might have been somebody trying to save a calf or something using a shitload of electricity, but they really needed it right then. So we shut our usage down, and we read books, and we played cards by lantern light, and we sat around and told stories by the fireplace, and it was just it was almost the ideal Christmas, in my opinion. We worked our fucking ass off, and when it got just too dark to do anything, we came inside and we had a meal. We said grace, and we shut it down early, and for all of us youngins that were still full of piss and vinegar, we'd play Texas Hold'em by the lantern, and it was the funnest damn time. And it takes times like that to make you realize how good the good times are. And this year has been just a big old steaming pile of horse shit. And I won't get to spend Christmas back in Colorado this year, but I'll get to spend it with my amigos there at the feedlot. And as much as I don't want to be there, it'll be a good time. Everybody be in good cheer because we're getting out of work early, and shit, it's Christmas Day. And as I've said before, I don't care what your thoughts on religion are. There's just something cool about Christmas Day, and I hope we can all realize that after the year that we've had, all the just craziness and horse shit that has went down. Christmas is all about family. It's all about, especially if you're in the rural, particularly the livestock. The livestock industry, it's a grind every day, every single day. No sheep or cow or horse alive gives two fucks whether it's Christmas Day or not, and they want some food. So we'll keep plugging along, keep feeding America, and I think that's what makes us here in the rural landscape a little, not even a little, but I'd say head and shoulders above everybody else that doesn't actually work for a living. And that's not a knock on anybody who contractors or whatever. But there's something about working with livestock, cattle, horses, sheep, goats, all of that stuff. They depend on you every single day. They don't give two fucks whether it's Christmas or not. So we'll go in, we'll do our job, and we'll do it well, huh? So cheers to y'all. Merry fucking Christmas. We got the bull session coming up tomorrow night live. So 23rd. I'll try to post that out on Christmas Day. But from McKinley family to yours, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's been a rough one, but I'm glad you guys stuck around. Appreciate you following me and spreading the word. Keep it up if you would. If you're a new listener, go to just look up Burning Daylight or at Move Your Ass on any of the social media platforms. You'll find me, and subscribe, share it with your friends if you like it, and thanks for hanging in there with me. Keep your heads up. Merry Christmas, and move your ass. We're burning daylight.